Being a Longhorn is pride, achievement, family. It's about belonging to a vibrant community that strives for greatness in everything. Being a Longhorn means engaging in STEM education, starting your path to college in elementary, and earning a college degree in high school. Being a Longhorn is a choice to lead, to innovate, to thrive in any setting. Here, you'll discover that learning isn't limited to textbooks. We believe in hands-on experiences that ignite creativity and fuel imagination. As a Longhorn, you have the opportunities to grow beyond the classroom, from the stage to the field. It's a great day to be a Longhorn. And when the time comes to graduate, you'll leave with a sense of accomplishment, knowing that you're prepared for whatever the future holds. The pride of being a Longhorn is something that cannot be described. It's better to experience it and feel it. This is Cedar Hill ISD. We educate, empower, and inspire.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for tonight's Parent University. I'm Dr. Hannah. I'm the Family Financial Advocate for the Europe program here at Cedar Hill. I'm going to be joined this evening with Ms. Kristen Miller, who is joining us from the Educational Opportunity Center, and she's going to talk to us a bit about Financial Aid 101. Before we get started, I'd like to, of course, thank you for joining us this evening, but I want you to also understand fully what services Europe is here to provide for your student. All scholars in the class of 2024 are members of Europe, and as such are entitled to an entire bevy of services designed to help them transition from high school to life after high school. So while most people commonly think of us as working with students to complete college applications for four-year programs, we're more than just four-year college programs. We are here to work with our students who are heading directly into the workforce, that is, those that in fact need to have a resume completed, or those that are looking for certifications to make them more marketable upon their graduation from high school. We're also here to help those students who are going directly into the military. Whatever the path that our Longhorn desires to go down upon graduation from high school, we're actually here to provide that assistance. And so I thank you. One of the requirements that our students all have to complete, and this is according to the Texas Education Code, in order for them to graduate from high school, is the FAFSA. FAFSA stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. That's what the acronym FAFSA stands for. Irrespective of whether your scholar is heading to a four-year school, a two-year school, or not going to school at all, the Texas Education Code requires your scholar to complete the FAFSA as a condition, or as a term, so to speak, of graduating from high school. So now there's a whole lot of anxiety surrounding completion of the FAFSA, and Ms. Miller is here to take us right on through it. She's a whiz at this. I've worked with her for the last year doing this back and forth. And I promise you that after she talks to you tonight, you're going to feel so great about it. So I'm going to turn it on over to Ms. Miller. Kristen?
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. And hello, Cedar Hill. I am grateful to be here speaking with you today. Like she said, my name is Kristen Miller. I am the Assistant Director for our ORS Educational Opportunity Center that serves Dallas County. We are a TRIO program. That means all of our services are always 100% free. And we're here to help you or your student, more in this aspect, your student, but you too, mom and dad, if you're wanting to pursue higher education. And that includes GED, trade certificates, associate's degrees, bachelor's and beyond. So let's get started. Okay, so just a quick overview. These are the things that I'm going to talk about today. I'm not going to read the screen verbatim, but you can see that we're going to talk about a lot, okay? Okay, so a little bit about us. So Opportunity Resource Services, we are a nonprofit organization, and we are, this I believe is our 11th year serving North Texas. We hold 3 Upward Bound Classic programs, 3 Upward Bound Math and Science programs, and now 3 Educational Opportunity Center programs. Our entire focus and our mission is to help end generational poverty in Texas, and that we do that, our piece of pie in that is through education by connecting Texans to higher education and building educated communities.
Dr.
Just waiting for
McDonald.
the slide to move over. Okay, so who are we? I kind of mentioned it before, but we're a TRIO program. What is TRIO? If you're not familiar, we're a grant funded by the U.S. Department of Education. Our specific grant is funded to serve those in Dallas County, but we do have grants that serve Tarrant County, Johnson County, and just the surrounding areas. So if you're here in North Texas, we would love to serve you. Our primary focus are families who may be low income or first generation college bound students. Now, that's not to say we can't serve anybody, because we can, we will, we would love to, but we were funded to provide support to those families who are often faced with obstacles and barriers that they just don't know how to overcome. And so we come alongside you and we will hold your hand through the process. We're going to make it easy. And because we're a TRIO program, all of our services are always free of charge. These are a list of our services. It got cut off a little bit at the bottom. I apologize for that, but we will provide individualized academic counseling for our adult learners. If you are wanting to get your GED, we offer a free online GED study course, and we can help pay for GED exams. We also do the same for TSI. So if your student is headed towards community college and they need to take that TSI exam, we have a free online study course that we can sign them up for. It's self-paced. They can use a phone, a tablet, a computer, and then we will help your student find the best fit college. So best fit, they have exactly what your student wants. It makes sense for them and what their family needs are. It's cost effective. If they need to be near public transportation, that it's available to them. So we're going to navigate that entire space with them. We're going to help them apply for school. We're going to help them apply for financial aid, and that does include the FAFSA. We can help look for scholarships, help them fill out application forms, review essays if they need it. Also, another thing for our adult learners, those two bottom points, is if you have loans that may be in default from a previous time that you were in school, we can help you navigate getting those out of default. And then you also have an opportunity as an adult learner to get college credit for prior work experience. So higher education 101. So when your student starts talking to you about wanting to go to college, it's important for them and you to understand the different types of institutions. The different types of institutions have different price points. They have different ways that they operate. I mean, it's just important to understand them. So our most common ones, and where we want to try to direct our kids more so, are going to be to our public and private universities or community colleges. We know that a lot of our students are HBCU bound. We love our HBCUs. And some of those are private. They're great. Some of them are public. They're great. But those are usually where our students lean towards. In a future slide, I'll talk about the different price points of the various ones. But there are also community colleges. These are great if your student is willing to go into the workforce. I know a lot of people will hear the word college and they think a degree. But community colleges have almost every single trade that you can think of. They have award skills that are just specifically for the workplace to help your student, like Dr. Hannah said, be more marketable. They offer a variety of things. And then we, of course, have our trade and our technical schools. Here in North Texas, we have amazing opportunities such as Texas State Technical College right here at our disposal. And then, of course, we have our for-profit and our not-for-profit schools. And then below, you can see the different types of degrees offered at the various institutions. So these are some examples of our not-for-profit private universities. So these are going to be our Baylor universities, our TCUs, our Texas Wesleyan, and then, of course, they typically offer bachelor's degree or graduate programs, so your master's or your PhD. And then up at the top right, you'll see that price tag. That is a sample of what a typical year could look like at that type of institution. Now, below at the bottom, we have our not-for-profit public universities. Not-for-profit just means your student is paying for their courses, they're paying the instructors, they're paying for the lights to be on in the buildings, right? These institutions are made to, they want your student to succeed. They want to make sure that your student is learning. But these are going to be your universities, your Tarleton, University of Texas at Arlington, your Texas Tech, Midwestern State. So these are the two different pathways that our students that are university bound typically go down. Our next options are community colleges. Here locally, we have, especially man in Cedar Hill, you guys are right on that line of you can get to Fort Worth easy, you can get to Dallas easy, you can get down to Cleburne easy, Midlothian. Y'all are really in a sweet spot. And so you guys have Dallas College, Hill College, TCC, Navarro just down the road. And there are tons of amazing options offered for your kiddos there. And so the price point for that one for just 1 year is $4,000. I'm going to talk about the FAFSA later. That gets me excited. That's an amazing price, okay, for especially if your student, they're like, man, I really don't want to, I don't know what I want to do, and they're not gunning for that university experience, because there is definitely some validity in that university experience. But if your student isn't really pining for that, and they're like, I know I want to get a degree, I just don't know what I want to do, community college is an amazing route. And we want to break that stigma that community college is less than, because it's absolutely not. It's just different. It's just a different pathway. And then at the bottom, we have our for-profit schools. These are going to be our schools that not only are your students paying for their courses, their instructors, the lights to be on, but these schools are making money off of your kiddos. These schools often shut down without notice, and your student would still be on the hook for any loans that they took out, and their credits may not transfer to another university. So if you have a kiddo that's looking into one of these schools, please reach out to me. Let's explore what options we have. Just a personal example, I was working with a young man from a local high school a couple of years ago, and he wanted to do welding. Well, I know that at a community college level, he could absolutely become a welder. He could choose a short certificate, or he could get an associate's degree for a very affordable price. But at one of these for-profit schools, they said, hey, come get this welding degree. We're going to give you a laptop. We're going to give you your tools, and we're going to give you a polo with our school logo on it. They wanted to charge this young man almost $50,000 for that welding degree that we know good and well he can get at our local community college system for $4,000 if he's doing an associate's degree. So if your student's looking into one of these schools, let's just talk about it. Let's just explore our options and go from there. Okay, then the first type of financial aid that I want to point out to you, and I do have this this presentation where it's not all wonky in some spots. So if that's something you'd like, I would be more than happy to send it to Dr. Hannah to get to you. But the Dallas County Promise, you guys have a very unique opportunity that you are a Dallas County Promise partner school. That means if you are eligible, your student could attend any of these schools for free. Okay, all your student has to do is fill out the Promise Path form, and they can go to dallascountypromise.org to complete that. I'm sure Dr. Hannah's team has everybody on it right now.
We certainly are.
Every senior
Mm-hmm.
that I have come in contact with, I'm like, did you do your Dallas County Promise Path form yet? Because it's important. Even if you're not sure if you're eligible, man, if there's a chance that your student might get to go to school for free, it's worth it. But these dates are listed, and you can find more information on their website about who they are and what they do. Yes, if you would like this presentation, I want to say it again, this slide right here. If you'd like this presentation in a clearer format, just let me know. I can definitely send it your way. But there are universities in Texas that are absolutely free based on family income. The tuition would be free based on family income. And it's a large list. If you go to orstx.org/FTU, you'll see the full list. And for example, like the University of Texas at Arlington, if your family income is $85,000 or less, your student's tuition would be 100% free. The only thing that they would have to pay for would be room and board if they stayed on campus, and their books and supplies. And so these are a really good opportunity for your student if they're university bound. I highly encourage you looking into this as well. different types of aid, aside from our free tuition programs, aside from our Dallas County Promise, there are grants, there are loans, there's work study and scholarships. The majority of us already know what a loan is, or even our kiddos have a even just a slight concept of what a loan is. They know they have to pay it back, right? They know what scholarships are because we tell them all the time, how many scholarships have you applied for? But grants, when we help your student do the FAFSA or any type of financial aid application, grants are the first thing that we're looking for. Okay, we want the free money that you do not have to pay back as long as you abide by whatever their stipulations are. My next slide will talk about the Pell Grant, so I won't get too far into that, but grants are always great. Okay, so in Texas, we have tons of different opportunities for grants. If your student wants to do a continuing education course, we have the Texas Public Education Grant that can cover it. We, of course, have the Pell Grant that can cover 4 credit courses. So at the certificate, associate's, bachelor's level. If your student's going into teaching, there's grants available for that. I mean, there's just grants everywhere, okay? And then, of course, we know what loans are. It's money that you borrow that you have to return. My hope and wish for your child is that they could go to school for free, if not as close to free as possible, without going into debt. But we do understand that there are some situations where taking out a loan is an investment into their future, right? Just because the school has offered them $9,500 does not mean they have to take $9,500. The school's going to offer them a few different things, okay? So they're going to offer them a subsidized loan, an unsubsidized loan, and then just depending on if your student has maxed out on those, there are also things like Perkins loans, Parent Plus loans. If your student has to take out a loan, these federal student loans are better than private loans. They have a very low interest rate. They are designed to not be too much. But if your student has to take out a loan, the subsidized loan will always be the better loan. And the reason for that is it will not accrue any interest at all until your student has to begin payments again, which will be 6 months after they finish their program of study. With the unsubsidized loan, the minute that your student signs that promissory note accepting it, the interest will begin. Okay. And then, of course, we know private loans, interest rates through the roof.
Yeah.
Those Parent Plus loans, I mean, let's talk about it before you do it, Mama. Okay.
Yeah.
And then work study. Work study is something that's available for students who show financial need through the FAFSA. And what it is, it's an opportunity for your student to have a part-time job on campus. When you're filling out the FAFSA, there will be a question where your student will be asked, are you interested in work study? Always say yes. It will not give them a job, but if they're eligible and they decide they want to do it, it'll be available to them rather than saying no and it counts them out altogether. Okay. Next slide, please. All right, the Pell Grant. Y'all, the Pell Grant, we love the Pell Grant, okay? So it is need-based. There is no way that I could look at one family sitting next to another family and say, hey, you get it, he doesn't. It is individual on every level, okay? So they're going to look at your income tax information from the prior year. FAFSA always looks 2 years back. And so for the 24-25 school year, which is the one that we will be completing with your seniors, they're going to be looking at the 2022 tax information, okay? And so by looking at that, how many people live in the house? What kind of benefits do you have? What things do you pay on? I mean, there's just a whole host of information. They'll be able to say yes or no whether your student gets the Pell Grant. Pell Grant does not have to be paid back as long as your student stays enrolled in the courses that they sign up for and that they pass their classes with a minimum GPA. It's like 2 point something. It's very low. But the full Pell Grant right now is $7,395 for the academic year. So they divide that in half per semester to make sure that your student doesn't use it all up at once and they've got some aid ready for that second semester. But at the community college level, if you get the full Pell Grant, you're going for free, even if you're getting an associate's degree. Mm-hmm. If you're getting a short certificate, not only are you going for free, but there will be an overage, and that money will come directly back to you, your student, and they can use that for whatever they need to be successful. So that's books, supplies, food, gas, housing, clothing. It just can't be entertainment. So getting access to the FAFSA, every parent will need to create what's called an FSA ID. Now, mom and dad, if you have gone to college in the last 10 years, or if you have a student who's gone to college in the last 10 years, then you probably already have an FSA ID. But you'll go to studentaid.gov and you're going to click on the Get Started button, and it's going to walk you through gathering your basic information, your name, your birthday, your social. They're going to get all up in your business. They want to know who you are, where you live, all that good stuff. And that is going to be not only your login for the FAFSA, your student will need one as well, so parent and student, your login, but your electronic signature as well. So something that is new this year that we've never dealt with before, but I'm excited to help some more parents, is previously students who had undocumented parents, their parents were not able to create an FSA ID. Previously, we would print a signature page at the end of the FAFSA. We would have mom and dad sign it. We would mail it off. Well, this year they've changed it. Every single person, whether they're undocumented or documented, will create an FSA ID. I know that there are some hesitations around that, but I just want to encourage you. The FAFSA is truly here to help your student get financial aid. It is not here to hinder your family in any type of way, okay? Now, I do know that the FSA ID, they verify typically through your social security number. But for those undocumented families, if you do not have a social security number, that's okay. They will likely use knowledge-based questions to help with identity verification. So maybe a phone number, an employer, if you have any kind of loan, there will be a way for you to be verified, but you do have to have an FSA ID before we can start the FAFSA. Oh, I got ahead of myself. These are the other steps to creating an FSA ID. So once you put in all your information, you'll verify your email address, verify your phone number, and it's very important that you and your students store the login information somewhere safe, because every year that your student is in school, they will renew their FAFSA. So it's not a one and done. It's every year we reapply, we renew it to make sure that we're still eligible for aid. If you have a student who's already been in college, or you yourself have an FSA ID, but you don't know how to log in, you have a few different options, okay? So if your phone and your email are verified, you can request a code to be sent to either of them. If they're not, then there are 4 challenge questions that you previously set up, and it will give you opportunity to answer 2 of the 4 challenge questions. And hopefully that works, but if not, you can always call the FSA ID helpline at the number below, and you can request an account recovery. And what that does is they're going to have you send in a proof of identification, and they will completely reset your FSA ID. It'll be as if it never happened, and you can just start from scratch. Okay, so I mentioned before that there were a few different things this year. So this year, for the 24-25 FAFSA, there are some new changes that we're going to be navigating together, okay? My team, we have been very diligent to attend every webinar. I know Dr. Hannah's team as well. We've attended every webinar. We have read every document. We are doing what we need to do to make sure that you guys are successful and that we can successfully navigate the process with you. So these are the changes that we do know. Every family, like I said, documented or undocumented parents, will need an FSA ID. Another big change is that the FAFSA is now going to be role-based. So what that means is your student will have to invite you to provide information on the FAFSA. You will be a contributor. So that if you are parent, step parent, that includes you. They are going to invite you, and you must accept that you will give your information, you will be a contributor, If you deny it, your student could be ineligible for any federal aid. Well, we don't want that. So you can see here a contributor would be a parent, other parent, student spouse. You must provide your information. You must give authorization. Something that's new this year, and if you're a mom or a dad who you've already done this with your previous students before, you're going to be familiar. They usually have the IRS data retrieval tool, right? And you log in, you get to that point and you're like, yes, do it for me, make it easy. Well, this is going to be even easier, okay? This is called the Better FAFSA. That's what they're naming this FAFSA. It's the Better FAFSA. It's going to be shorter, it's going to be easier, and this is going to allow your information to automatically come. We should not have to enter much in there at all, where previously it would come through and there were still a bunch of questions we had to answer about your financials. This IRS direct data exchange is going to do all that hard work on the back end, just to make our lives so much easier. I'm excited.
Me too.
Okay, so just continuing on about the contributors and whatnot. Students and contributors must provide consent. Like I said, it's very important. I'm going to say it over and over and over. You have to consent to give the FAFSA your information. If you do not consent, your student will not receive financial aid. One of the things that's unique about this year is with a contributor-based FAFSA, you will not be able to see your student section and your student will not be able to see your section. So it's all becoming very private. Now, of course, if you have your students' login information, I mean, your mom and daddy, do what you need to do. But on the FAFSA side of it all, and I encourage you, please look over it before they submit it. Because sometimes they don't know how to spell your name. They don't know when you were born, look over it. But that's just one of the changes that are coming. So another form of financial aid that's available to your student, of course, the FAFSA is always going to be our first stop. Number one, it's a great source of financial aid. Number two, it is a Texas high school requirement. If your student wants to graduate, they must do the FAFSA. But we also have a few different options through the Texas workforce. Many families don't know about this, and I'm all about spreading the message. I'm blasting it out, okay? But there's something called WIOA. It's the WIOA Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. And they have one that's very specific to just youth. This is really good for our students who know that they are workforce, like they're headed straight to the workforce, right? They need some sort of training. They need some sort of certification. This is going to give them that. And not only does the Texas workforce have tons of training providers here in the DFW area, but that WIOA is a grant from the state of Texas, and it'll be 100% free if your student is eligible for it, okay? The next one is also through the Texas workforce. It's called vocational rehabilitation. This can be utilized if your student is workforce bound, if they're community college, university, whatever it is. If they have any kind of diagnosed disability at all, that includes physical, mental health conditions, learning or intellectual disabilities, or hearing impairments, anything at all that has been diagnosed, your student can receive financial assistance for their education from the Texas workforce. So this is my beautiful team. Like I said, I'm the assistant director. These are the faces that you will see when we roll up to help Dr. Hannah and gear up. This is the team. We're the dream team. My team together, I mean, we have just tons of experience. We work not only with high school students, but in our local prison systems, at our homeless shelters. We have seen and done almost everything that we can do. So it's very unlikely that you'll have a situation that will stump us. And if it does stump us, we're ready to tackle that challenge with you. All right, so that is my presentation. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat below. Dr. Hannah and I would love to field those. And just make sure that you have what you need to be successful.
I actually had a question just from listening, and I'm assuming this is probably a question that some of our families may have as well. So if I'm a family that's going to file the TASFA, do I still need an FSA ID?
As of right now, we have not received any guidance that would indicate that you would need an FSA ID. FSA ID is for the federal level only. I'm glad you brought up TASFA. TASFA, if you aren't familiar with, it's the Texas Application for State Financial Aid, and that is for our undocumented students. Okay, so if you're a student and you don't have a social security number, instead of FAFSA, you will use TASFA. It'll be the same questions. It's just, it's a fillable PDF. It's almost a little bit easier for you sometimes, but you do not need an FSA ID for TASFA, no.
Okay. Still thinking ahead. So when can I start working on the FAFSA? I'm at home and I'm a parent. Can I do it tonight?
If you have a social security number, you can create your FSA ID. Your student can create their FSA ID, but the FAFSA will not open until December. Typically it's October 1st, but they're making us wait. We're chomping at the bit, but in December, the FAFSA will open this year.
Okay, so in December. Okay.
And may I add one thing with that? Because the FAFSA is opening up a little bit later than it typically does, many of our institutions are pushing their financial aid priority deadlines. University of Texas at Arlington, for example, has pushed theirs until April. So I feel confident that most universities will follow suit with that as well.
Okay, that's good. Let's see. Insofar as, well, let me ask you this. So should I be waiting to apply to college after I've done the FAFSA in December, or should I be working to apply for college now? Do I do scholarships first and then apply for FAFSA? I don't know. There seems to be a whole lot going on. And again, these are questions that I receive all the time from students as well as parents. And so I'd like to hear you give your spin.
Yes. So if your student is a senior, they need to be applying for colleges right now.
Yeah.
Yesterday, maybe even. They need to be applying because those colleges are still, they're still wanting those early applicants. Even though they're pushing their financial aid deadlines, their admission deadlines are more or less staying the same. Scholarships, you need to be looking at scholarships right now as well. There's no reason to wait until FAFSA. Scholarships are not in place of, they're on top of, right? So there's no reason that your student can't start looking right now. And if that's something that your student needs help with, please reach out to us. We would love to help them do some individual research with them and help them be successful. Okay, I see we have another question.
Yes.
Dr. Hannah, you want me to get it or you?
Well, you can get it, that's fine, but they want to know what is the difference insofar as an application decision between early decision and regular decision.
Okay. Early decision and regular decision. Early decision is basically you are saying, yes, I'm coming, you're signing a contract. Many institutions will hold you to that contract. So you are not able to back out once you accepted. So unless you know without a shadow of a doubt that that's the only school that you are willing to go to, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't.
I don't know.
It does commit so early.
It closes your options.
Yeah.
And definitely there is a difference, as she said, between early decision and early action. Totally different set of playing field here we're working with. So again, if we're talking about early decision, what that means is, Kristen, say it one more time because we don't want anybody to get caught in this.
Early decision is you are signing a contract that you will be attending that school, and there are often repercussions if you do back out of that contract.
That is correct. Whereas early action is basically saying, hey, I'd like to know if you're going to accept me, but I still have the freedom to choose, which means that if you're one of those students that's sitting in the catbird seat, maybe you've been working, really zealously over the last 4 years, you've got a high grade point average. At some point, the schools may begin a bidding process to win you over. So you don't want to necessarily, again, do early decision unless you know hands down that no matter what comes what may, and so far as finances or anything else, that you're going to go to that school. I would avoid that one as well.
Yep.
All righty. So I see another question. What are the average application deadlines? Again, those deadlines are going to vary from school to school. So one of the first things that I suggest to students that come into the CCMR office, at least at Cedar Hill High School, and to those students that I have an opportunity to speak with on Collegiate's campus, is that you check the deadline for the specific schools that you're interested in attending. Most of your Texas A&M, for instance, UT, those application deadlines are coming and they're coming fast. In fact, UT has a priority deadline for application consideration that is October 1st. Now, it doesn't mean that if you file a little bit later that you're going to be in any worse position than somebody who did it by October 1st. But to that particular school, October 1st indicates if you file it before that you're serious about it. Their bottom line deadline date, though, is November 1st. Texas A&M, on the other hand, I believe is December 1st. UNT may be March 1st. So again, it's not as if we can take them all and say, okay, all the state schools, for instance, want their applications by this time, because that's not so the case. You have to go in and you have to check school by school to see exactly what's out there. But that's a great question. Thank you.
That is a good question. And for community colleges, it's even different. Our community college systems, you can enroll all the way up until almost the day before classes start. And I don't recommend doing that, because if you need to do your TSI and get your checklist all done and everything in one day, that's a little hard, but it varies, like Dr. Hannah said.
Not to mention that if you're applying for scholarships, let's say that you win a scholarship, before they're going to release those funds and you want the funds released to your intended school within a decent period of time, they need to see a letter of acceptance. If you can't provide a letter of acceptance, often they won't even seriously consider that particular scholarship application. So again, we're relatively early in the school year. Right now, most scholarship providers understand that, hey, most students haven't yet been accepted into their college of choice. However, as the year progresses, or maybe you get into phase 2 or phase 3 of certain scholarship applications, one of the requirements is going to be that you are actually able to produce a letter that says, hey, congratulations, you've been accepted, or you're going to be let's say a Longhorn, whatever it is. They're looking to see that acceptance letter. So the longer you wait, the more difficult it is then for you to secure scholarships and to at least prove that you've been accepted into a school.
Yes.
Let's see, the next statement. To confirm, the 24-25 FAFSA will not open October 1st. That is true. And it's going to open sometime in December of 2023. We're saying sometime because that date has not yet been released by the United States Department of Education. As soon as we receive that date, I will immediately send out a Skyward email as well as Signal Vine text to let our families know. No worries. You're welcome.
I wanted to add on, right now in the fall, this is when all the major universities in our area are doing preview days. These are free opportunities for you and your student to go hear from financial aid, hear from admissions, visit their department that they're interested in, take tours of the campus, eat in the dining hall for free. I mean, if your student's interested in a school, I would start looking up those preview days and attending them.
And actually, Gear Up is actually attending quite a few of those preview days. We are definitely going to Texas Tech on October 9th. Texas State University has a Bobcat Day. That's on a Saturday. We're going to that. Texas A&M Commerce also has a main day event, which is coming up. We're not attending that one because we already previously had a tour scheduled. And so we're going to go along with our scheduled tour date. However, I would encourage you to look into the Texas A&M main day event. Now, that having been said, parents, if I'll be honest, what we're noticing in Europe is, of course, there's a whole lot of excitement about going to out-of-state trips. But we need our scholars to be as interested, of course, in going on the in-state trips as well. So as Kristen just stated, to the extent that you can, again, start to look at these schools, and I know some of our parents have already started traveling with scholars and going to check out schools and going to look at school campuses, and that's great. But to the extent that you can definitely visit, preferably during the week when set classes are in session, if there's any way that you can sit and you can actually attend a class or listen in on a class, observe a class, that also helps your scholar to determine how they're going to feel one way or the other when they're on that campus. The goal when you go to visit is to try to, I don't want to say simulate an environment as close as possible, but you want your scholar to have a great opportunity to see what is it really like on a regular, everyday basis when I'm here in class on this particular campus. And so definitely if you can schedule a visit during the week, please be sure to do so.
Yes, highly encouraged. And for those students who are looking at in-state versus out-of-state, just a reminder, out-of-state does raise the price exponentially.
Yes.
There are some universities that provide an exception to that, but those are they're unique. It's not the norm.
Yes. All right. So it seems that students should be working on applications and scholarships simultaneously. Definitely, but with a little more emphasis on college applications. You got it. Definitely right now because FAFSA hasn't opened. So if I go back to what we're doing on campus with the students, most of the students, at least at Cedar Hill High School, and I believe as well as at Collegiate as well, have actually completed the Dallas County Promise. So there's that one set of financial supports that are in place, hopefully, for your scholar. There's one. We also are, of course, encouraging these students to complete their college applications. Our scholars have, for the most part, completed what are referred to as NAC-CAC fee waiver applications. And these applications actually waive the college application fee. To apply to college, the application fees range anywhere from typically $45 to $100 per school. So if you have a scholar that's applying to several schools, if you're paying for this out of pocket, I think it's very easy to see how these costs can rapidly escalate and add up. So make sure that as your scholar is applying, then when it comes time to pay, that they are checking the box that says that they'd like to request a fee waiver. We also, of course, have scholarships that are available in Zello. Zello is the new platform that the district will use for students, in fact, to complete their college application efforts and to, of course, request transcripts and all things college, more or less. In the Zello platform itself, once the students enter, there's a column that refers them that's called goal planning. At the bottom of that, there's college planning. If they click on that and they maneuver within that page, they'll see a section entitled Local Scholarships. I am in the process of loading up scholarships to that particular link. That is going to be the primary means by which we communicate scholarship information. It's going to be shared in Zello going forward. You're welcome. Are there any other questions? And I'm so glad that the question was asked, should my scholar be working on applications and other things simultaneously? Yes. Our goal, and I know if I step backwards for a moment, this is a tremendously difficult time for your scholar. I know it looks like they're hopping around and bip-bopping and smiling and having the greatest time, but really inside, there's a lot of emotional turmoil that's associated with this particular point in time. Oh my goodness, I know everybody said I'd get to the end of high school and I've been looking forward to being a senior, but I'm about to fall off the edge right now. And so there's a lot to be said for this time. Gently encourage them, be patient. Understand they may tell you one day they don't want to go to college and another day they tell you they want to go to a 2-year college. And I guess that's one of the reasons, in fact, why the state of Texas has imposed the FAFSA completion requirement. It is to reserve that opportunity for your student to change their mind back and forth as we go through the school year. Nonetheless, we have to sit them down and get them working on something concrete because we recognize that these openings are not going to exist forever at the colleges to which they may be interested. And so to the extent you can, be patient, put on your patience cap. I know my daughter will turn 21, in fact, next week. And I do remember, she'd say something and she'd walk off and I'd be like, oh, wait, is this my child? Why is she talking so crazy? I thought I had her straightened out last week and now this week she's saying something totally different. Be patient. It happens. It's a tremendously difficult time for all of the students right now. Be patient. If you need to reach out or maybe you feel like you're talking back and forth with your student and it's creating more of a combative atmosphere than a helpful atmosphere, by all means, reach out to me, or to be honest, any third party. They typically, I hate to say it, they have a tendency to listen to sometimes their coaches, sometimes their teachers, a neighbor, a godparent, someone that can say exactly what you're saying. It doesn't mean that what you're saying is wrong. It just means that they're not receptive to receiving it from you at this point.
Dr. Hannah, I see we do have one question that came through just a couple minutes ago. It says, how would absences work for the college if we were to go to a visit or to visit a college campus during the week? Does your school offer college days for seniors?
So yes, seniors are permitted to miss 2 days for college visits. When the student visits with us, it's considered to be a student activity and not necessarily an absence, and so they don't lose attendance. And so it's another reason why we encourage them. Not to mention that, I'm sorry, I saw what was the site, Zello, and I'll get back to it, ma'am. Don't let me forget. But that's why we encourage our students to seriously consider when we are traveling, particularly to schools that are very well within the state and that may in fact have programs that would answer or at least get prepare them for the careers within which they're interested, please, please, please encourage your scholar to take advantage of those trips. So I see a couple of questions about the site Zello, and I'm sorry, I should have been clearer about it. So your scholar will access Zello by going to their CHISD dashboard. Once they enter that dashboard, or they log on and they're able to access their dashboard, the Zello app, and Zello is spelled XELLO, should appear. I know on my dashboard it's one of my last apps, of course, because it's one of the newest apps. I'm not certain where it would appear on your student's dashboard. Once they click into Zello and they're able to get into it, they're going to look to the right-hand side of the page, and there's going to be a column called Goal Planning. Under that column, there's going to be a link for college planning. Once the students select college planning, there's a couple of different things that they can do. They can, first of all, identify which colleges they'd like to apply to, which will also help them, or help Zello actually, to remind your student of when certain things are due. But moreover, they will be able to request transcripts through Zello, as well as access scholarship information. Now, as of this moment, transcripts have not yet been loaded into Zello. However, our scholarships are. If we have a scholar who needs a transcript in the interim, please encourage that scholar to reach out to me, and I will send it right away out to their intended school or desired school. How does the student get a waiver or application fee waiver? So assuming your student is a senior at, and yes, I know your student, Mr. Beaumeyer. So Mr. Beaumeyer is a student at Cedar Hill High School, and we sat down with the students for what are referred to as senior chats. So during the senior chat, the academic advisor or academic counselors meet with the students one-on-one to discuss their academic progress, to discuss any deficiencies. And as they're proceeding through one by one, because they come in as an entire class, the Gear Up team is working with the students to first complete Dallas County Promise, to thereafter help the students set up their FSA ID if they haven't done so already, and lastly, to sign or execute the NATCAC fee waiver application. Once the student signs that NATCAC fee waiver application, what we have been doing is creating a PDF of that application and then sending each student his or her own NATCAC fee waiver application. That way, if they're asked to upload a copy of the application to their particular or personal college application, they've got it. So absences, how would they work for the college if you were to visit a college campus during the week? If you were to visit a college campus during the week and your student is absent, your student has up to 2 absences per academic year to use for a college visit. Now, we can offset some of those absences again if your student is able to visit with the Gear Up team, because when we take the students, it's considered to be a school or student activity, and they are marked at a present for that particular day. What about students taking classes at Cedar Valley from Collegiate? So for our collegiate scholars, we have, and in fact, we have been sending out field trip notifications. I know that for our DC field trip at the end of October, we are going to be joined. We'll have a great combination of our high school and collegiate scholars. And I love when we're able to get all the students together, because it gives them an opportunity in many instances to sit and to interact for that very first time. So as we set college trips and as we set the dates, we actually reach out and we extend the opportunity to all students, irrespective of campus, because we're here to support both campuses even-handedly. And so we send out those notices of field trip opportunities even-handedly via Signal Vine. So Signal Vine is a text service that we use. So we send out, and actually Ms. Rollins has done a terrific job of doing that, as we are able to cement a college trip date so that students have an opportunity at collegiate as well. Let's say maybe it's a day they normally have a lecture at Cedar Valley, but maybe if they could get their work done ahead of time, or if there's an exam going at that particular date, if they can take it ahead of time, then they can go without at least grade penalty. We send the students information regarding those trips in Signal Vine via text. The trips, in addition to a text, there's also typically a link for the student to click on so they can go or indicate interest in going on a particular trip. Sure, I can drop my contact info in the chat. Great idea. Thank you. And you guys should have been receiving emails probably from me. 469. Why am I having a hard time? 220. I'm typing it in. I promise I am. I'm having a brain freeze. Here, let's do this. I'm going to put in my cell phone number because I can't remember the campus number now. There. All righty. Are there any other questions? These have been great questions tonight. But I love our families this year just seem to be right on it insofar as, hey,
I was just saying, yes. I love the engagement. Yes.
Is amazing. Parents are amazing. Just to be clear, you guys will accompany the scholars on the DC trip. Yes, the Gear Up team is, yes, going to accompany scholars that have been selected to DC for that particular trip. Yes, ma'am. Let's see. Just worried about the college professors not complying. Oh, okay. So you're referring to the Cedar Valley professors, I'm assuming. That would be an issue that I'm sure Ms. McDaniel, who is the academic counselor at Collegiate for our seniors at Collegiate, could help you to work through. Are there any other questions? And I do understand that concern. I would be concerned as well. Are there any other questions? How do you get, are you asking, how do you get the information as a parent for college tours with Gear Up? If you can just give me some direction one way or the other. The students receive the information about upcoming tours with Gear Up via text from Signal Vine. I'm sorry, Ms. Anderson.
She commented, yes. She wants to know, as a parent, how could she receive?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. You're seeing it quicker than I am for whatever reason, and I'm sitting here in a district building. Yes. So what we can do, if you have not received those, or if your scholar has not been talking to you about those trips, there have been 2 big texts that have been sent out. The one big text, of course, was for the Washington, D.C. trip, and that particular trip has been more or less finalized. There was a text before then that invited students to join us on 4 state field trips. So what we can do, or what I will do actually, is go ahead and send you a copy of that particular text tomorrow morning. If I can send that out via Skyward email, and then you'll have the exact same information. But good idea, because we tend to assume, and see, this is why parents and educators, well, we all need to be on the same page. We assume that if a scholar is excited about going somewhere, they're going to come home and they're going to talk to you about it. And maybe that's not the case. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we get those out to you via Skyward. Is there anything else for today? So again, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. It definitely has been just, again, an amazing experience. If there's ever anything you need from the Gear Up team, please do not hesitate to give me a call directly. Again, I am the family financial advocate as well as parent liaison. So please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out to me for any of your services. I'd like to thank Ms. Kristen. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. We look forward, of course, to partnering with you. One thing that I did not mention earlier is that we do sponsor, once the FAFSA opens, we'll have things called FAFSA after hours. That's kind of a party. You see, you come in and you bring your financial information, and Ms. Kristen's there with her team, and I'm there. And it's not like we're just talking about how to do it. We actually do it with you right there. So when you leave that evening, you have your information. For those parents that are working midnights or afternoons, we also offer FAFSA midday mixers as well. So stay tuned. That will all be coming once we get our opening date for the FAFSA. How do I choose, or how do we choose which students will go? Are you saying choose for FAFSA after hours? Anyone can participate in FAFSA after hours.
And then I just wanted to thank you guys for having me. It's always a pleasure to join. And then I wanted to throw out a shameless plug. Moms, dads, grandmas, aunties, uncles, we serve your students, but we serve adults as well. So if you've thought about going back to school, there's no better time than now. There's financial aid available to you. Even if you would say, I'm too old to go to school, there are grants available for those 55 and up. We want to get you connected. If you need your GED, you want to get into a trade, whatever it is you're wanting to do, we would love to assist you in that as well. That includes getting your loans out of default and becoming re-eligible for financial aid if you need that as well.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Have a great night.